You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. This is February 26th, trade deadline day. With you today is myself, Carl, and the always wonderful Joel. Joel, you survived trade deadline day, and nothing disastrous happened to your Toronto Maple Leafs.
Correction, this is the first time we've recorded since Auston Matthews died. So everything in my life is over.
Joel, I don't mean to alarm you. You did beat the Boston Bruins without Auston Matthews, passing them to jump into second place in the Atlantic Division. You are currently beating the Tampa Bay Lightning, the best team in the Atlantic Division without Auston Matthews. I think your team might be good enough to survive a couple games without him.
I don't know. The second in the Atlantic is like fake. It's a fake second. Because, like, the Bruins have played, like, 9 games less than the Leafs.
So it's what? At this point, it's 4? I guess after,
because they played
game.
Yesterday.
Yeah, they lost to the Sabres. So
That's gotta sting.
Again, Joel, with their backup goalie in, they lost.
Yeah, but it's going to be 5 tonight.
Yeah, but sure, you're giving a team that loses to the Sabres 5 games in hand. They might win one of them. This is what happens. We give the Bruins 1 week where we let them be on high sticking. Then they go ahead and prove to us why we shouldn't let them on high sticking by losing the Sabres.
Yeah, that was bad. But we're not here to talk about hockey.
No. So what we are doing this week is 2 episodes.
What?
Yeah. So today is all trades all the time.
What?
I know. Then Wednesday night. And we're going to record both today, but we're going to split them up. Kind of give you, because instead of going like super long, we're going to give you a bit of a reprieve. Then on Wednesday, we're coming at you with an episode that's like, we're going to eliminate a team on the elimination station. We might have a guest on that show. We are finally, Joel, going to talk about our listeners' broken bone stories on that episode.
Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that.
I did not the second time. But first, Joel, before we get into the show, let's remind everyone about the folks over at ATB Financial. They are the supporting sponsor of the Alberta Podcast Network and this show. What we want to let you know is that if you head over to atb.com/listens, you can find out all the ways that ATB can help you out. If you're looking for investing or a mortgage or other banky terms, they've got your back. So head over to atb.com/listens, atb.com/listens. Tell them how they can help you. Trades happened. What was your overall sense? Were you just like meh on this trade deadline? What'd you think?
It was somewhat underwhelming, and there was definitely a few teams that should have been sellers that didn't really act like sellers.
Yeah.
So that was kind of
Yeah, there was a lot going on that, well, what I found interesting is the lead up to it had a lot more action than I was expecting. Not just like rumors. Like there was the Erik Karlsson talk, which we'll get into that at some point this week. But there, the Brassard trade, things like that were going down before the deadline.
And like usual, if you made a trade before the deadline and your name wasn't the Boston Bruins, you probably got a bit of a deal compared to how prices were on deadline day.
Yeah. So where do you want to start? Do you want to start with some of those pre-deadline deals?
We should start like arguably 2 of the biggest 4 happened before the deadline.
Yeah, I would say, because there was 3 pretty big pre-deadline deals that went down. So let's just start a week ago. February 20th, the Boston Bruins proved that they are going to be overpaying for defensemen trading a third-round pick for Nick Holden, which also proved it started the trend of third-round picks being even less valuable than they've ever been before.
Yeah, but like that's kind of like a whatever deal.
Oh, for sure. I think the only thing that me, as an Avalanche fan, former team that had Nick Holden, I was like, oh, look, he still apparently has value to somebody.
Wasn't he on the Leafs at some point, or that was Holzer?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Corbinian Holzer. That's a different guy, but yeah,
it was the Kuemper one was probably the biggest, like the first one that like had someone that I knew. Is that how you say his name? Kuemper?
Oh yeah, Darcy
Kuemper.
Yeah. Well, your Eric Fair trade. Let's not.
Okay, let's. This is just like we're totally slow playing everything right now. We're just like, let's talk about Eric Fair and 7th round draft picks.
Okay.
No, let's not.
Yeah, Darcy Kuemper goes from the LA Kings. He was a quality backup for them, and he headed off for Tobias Rieder, who was a guy who I was quite high on as a prospect and just never really turned into what he could or should have been.
Right. I like it. I like it for the Coyotes. Like, they didn't really give up a lot. Like, Scott Wedgwood was whatever.
Right. He got put on waivers immediately, so.
Yeah. So, how do you feel about, the next deal, though. Like, how do you feel about Grabner? I had a reaction to this as soon as it happened.
I loved this trade for the New Jersey Devils.
Yeah, so did I. I was like, man, they got a really good deal there.
And like, when we get back and look at it in terms of the context of the rest of the trade deadline day deals, it was a second and a prospect. And there are really no prospects at all that were moved today that are like a prospect. I say the biggest one was the one going to the Rangers from Tampa and Brett Howden. But other than that, like, there's not really. So when we say prospect, like, just put that in quotes, because there's no one that you're going to get real fired up about.
Right.
So yeah, a second for that, which in terms of what was paid today, that's very similar to what likely the Sharks will end up paying for Evander Kane, right? Slightly more for Kane than Grabner, which.
No, they're going to re-sign Kane.
I guess we'll see how he does.
Because, yeah, if he does okay, they're going to, like, there's already talks of them getting a sizable offer for Tavares. But
sorry, continue.
If they don't get a guy like Tavares, Evander Kane, they'll, like, what, a 5x6 deal or something like that?
Yeah, whatever that ends up being. Or if you compare it to the Plekanec deal, Michael Grabner is a guy who continually gets underrated, I feel like.
And then overrated, and then underrated, and then overrated, and then underrated. He has his moments.
Right.
But so that one was really good. So the next big one, though, well, the next trade, time-wise,
wait,
was
can we camp there a second?
You still want to talk about Grabner?
Well, how fast? What? We'll give these people a 15-minute show so that we can just power. I have a question for this.
Okay.
Yeah. What do you think Grabner gets in the offseason? Unrestricted free agent, 30 years old. What do you think Michael Grabner gets as a deal?
Too much.
Too much, because right now he's coming off a 2-year, $3.3 million deal with the Rangers. I'm thinking again, short, probably in like the 4 range, like probably like a 3x4.
Yeah, he's gonna get more than he should. How can you have so many goals and no assists? This is amazing. He got 25 goals and 6 assists.
Someone's got to score in New York. No one was doing it. He put that shoulder on himself.
That's just amazing. Like, because last year he had 27 goals and 13 assists. Like, that's just crazy. But I don't know. He probably is going to get, my guess is $4 million a year over 3. That'd be my guess. He's going to get a raise.
Okay.
Oh, maybe more than that. He's going to be a 30 goal scorer this year.
Yeah.
What do 30 goal scorers make? More than $4 million a year.
That for sure. But because he's been a 34 goal scorer before. He scored 34 with the Islanders in 2010-11. And everyone said, this isn't Michael Grabner, right? You essentially traded him away with like a slew of other pieces just to get rid of him.
I thought we got him in that trade.
Is that how that worked?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I think so. I don't.
That would make, yeah, because you got him from the Islanders, right?
Yeah. So, yeah, it was Grabner for 5 guys.
I knew that there was a trade that involved Grabner and just everything. But that, like, at that point, his value had sunk to as low as it could be, right? Like, he was at the bottom. So I don't know. I still think that he won't be valued as a 2-time 30 goal scorer, but as something worse, which is I still think it'll be a great deal. Whoever signs Michael Grabner this year, I think is going to have a great deal in their hands.
No, I disagree. I think he's going to get overpaid because he's going into the overrated. See, you're underrating him so much that he's now overrated.
Could be. I would disagree. I still think that he's been underrated for so long, especially as a guy who's a 30-year-old. People don't typically trust breakout guys at 30, but I guess time will tell what happens there. But yeah, next trade, and this one was a complicated one because it put the NHL in a situation where I think I don't think originally they had to veto this trade and had to get reworked. The Derick Brassard trade from Ottawa to Pittsburgh with Ryan Reaves going to Vegas. So there's a lot of pieces to this, but I think what's interesting is the first part where, since there's a lot of teams with a lot of cap space, and this could have opened a giant loophole for everyone. But the original thought was that Vegas was just going to get Brassard, retain salary, and then pass him on.
Which is what they did.
Right, but they had to finagle it so that it could actually work.
Right. And Pittsburgh gave up a first-round pick for Ryan Reaves and now gave up on him very quickly.
Well, in the summer, they thought, we need to protect Sidney Crosby. And then they decided, we no longer need to protect Sidney Crosby. We're fine. He's not in need of an enforcer on this team, apparently. Which is...
I hope they change their mind again. And we'll trade him Matt Martin.
Ooh, yeah. Look at that. You would love that, obviously.
Everybody would love that.
The great news is that
everybody would love that.
Penguins do not have the cap space available to trade for a Matt Martin.
I can't believe they managed to, Vegas continually looks really, really smart, except for today. Today they didn't. But it's smart if they were like, hey, we'll pay some money for some assets. Sure, why not? That's basically all they did. So they got Ryan Reaves and a 4th-round pick just to pay a little bit of money for Brassard.
Yeah, they also...
Did they give up Lindbergh? Is that...
Yeah, so Tobias Lindbergh is the prospect, and that's the guy that you gave them for Calvin Pickard. So, that's the level of piece that they had to give to Pittsburgh to make this deal work.
The Senators won this deal, right?
Yeah, the Senators did great in this deal because the Penguins also sent Ian Cole away and Philip Gustafsson, who's a fairly good goaltender prospect. He was the goalie from Sweden from the World Juniors. Had a good showing in that tournament. And so, that's a guy that Ottawa's glad to have. I guess when I said earlier, no good prospects, that's probably the best. Yeah, that's one of the best for sure. Ian Cole then moved today. I think it was the first trade of this morning. He was sent off to Columbus for a 2020 third-round draft pick. So again, third-round draft picks. Do you think that part of the reason that these, and it certainly matters, but I don't know if it's just people are starting to realize that third-round draft picks aren't worth much, or, everything does technically get pushed one spot back. So they're all, 3% less valuable than they were last year. But they took a tank in value this year. The Brassard trade, a win for Ottawa, and literally he's coming in and he's going to fill that Nick Bonino role that they had last year. And, we saw what he was able to do. Nick Bonino was able to get a steal of a deal from the Preds, showing his value there. So, lots of good stuff coming.
Brassard is the guy that everyone, he was the guy that was going to make Rick Nash great in Columbus and then make Rick Nash great in New York. Where did Rick Nash play? New York.
Yep, New York. We'll get there.
We'll get to, he's not there anymore, I guess. But that's the thing. I don't know. Isn't this his best season, Brassard? I feel like he hasn't really been that good, and then all of a sudden, he was worth so much money. He still has another year on his deal,
and I think that's why he got so much, was because there was term left on his deal, and there was a lot of guys rumored to be moving who had term left, and we saw none of them move today. Pacioretty was rumored. Obviously, Erik Karlsson was rumored and didn't go. These are a lot of guys who go. Well, lots of talk about it, but these are guys who I think the price on the extra year was incredibly high.
Did you like the move for Brassard for the Penguins?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you think that makes them a cup contender?
Well, they were a cup contender anyways.
Are they more of one?
Yeah, I think it makes them better. You have that extra piece down the middle, which you never say no to. And we'll get your thoughts on what it's like to add a depth center shortly. I love this trade for Pittsburgh. A first round pick for Pittsburgh is a late first. They obviously scout well, that they're able to take these pieces that they draft. And this guy was a second round pick last year, move him out. So yeah, I'm very okay with this.
Okay. So where do you want to go next? Are we?
Well, I know Matt claimed we wouldn't talk about Brandon Davidson going to the Islanders. And so just for him, shout out to the Oilers for actually being able to do something impressive by turning a waiver claim into a third round draft pick. Third round draft picks are worth nothing, but they're way better than literally nothing.
They're worth almost nothing.
Yeah.
But they're better than, apparently Brandon Davidson is worth less than nothing. Is that what we're saying? It seems a little harsh.
No, I wouldn't say that. I'm saying that, months ago, he was just thrown away. Montreal didn't even want him. And now? Third round.
Edmonton doesn't want him.
Well, also that. I think Edmonton wanted. There was a lot of people very disappointed that they would miss out on him, which, whatever. He was their sixth defenseman. He can easily come back next season.
Yeah, but he has a -8 relative Corsi for. That sounds bad.
Who are you?
-8, Carl. Yeah, on the Oilers. You know how bad that is?
that is some great context to add to that one. Yeah.
That's the fact that they got a third round draft pick for that. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is true. All right. We'll skip over. There was another 3-way trade that happened. This was the year of the 3-way trade. There was Duchesne, there was Brassard, Mark Letestu, but we'll skip ahead to your Toronto Maple Leafs making what I believe is the second trade with the Montreal Canadiens in recent history.
Which one was the first?
Well, Josh Georges was the first in decades, I believe.
Josh Georges was a Leaf?
Was that not a trade that happened?
I don't believe so.
Well, there was a trade that you guys made at some point. Did you not?
I don't know, Shane Corson maybe? Didn't that happen at some point?
I feel like there was a trade between the two. Anyway, I'll look it up. There was a trade that I recall happening between you guys, and it was like the longest trade. Anyways, you guys made another trade. Tell me about Tomas. You made him shave his goatee, but he's still wearing his turtleneck.
People upset about the shaving of the goatee. How do you feel about that? Do you feel like he should be able to not have to shave that?
I feel like if my boss came in to me and said, Carl, we're sending you somewhere for the next 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
You have to shave your mustache because the place you're going to says you've got to do that. I would be a little upset. I'd be a little disappointed.
Wait, but you're going to get $2.5 million while you're there for that.
How's he getting $2.5 million? Like, he's not getting 2.5. How's this $2.5 million coming?
He's getting paid that.
Yeah, but he would get paid that to stay where he is and keep his goatee.
Yeah, but he lost that right to stay there. Like, when you don't have a no trade clause, you lose that right.
But I'm so confused what you were talking about with this money thing.
You're still going to get, so your employer is paying you. So he can either choose not to shave it, but not get paid because he doesn't show up, or he shaves it and plays.
Sure.
Mikhail Grabowski traded from the Montreal Canadiens to the Toronto Maple Leafs in 2008 was the last trade.
There you go.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you remember that? You remember the New York Yankee thing that happened? There was a guy that was on the Red Sox, and he had dreads and long dreads, and had them for his whole life. Got placed on waivers. The Yankees claimed him, played him, and because of the Yankees' hair and facial hair policy, he had to shave his dreads off. Played one game and then got cut by the Yankees.
That's a classic Yankee move right there.
So you think they did that on purpose, is what you're saying?
I think that they knew what they were doing. They didn't unintentionally make him shave his dreads and then be like, "Oh, okay, you're gone." If they thought this guy might only play a game, just let him keep them for one game. It's not going to ruin your franchise.
So you are on the allowing the people to just dress and look however they want.
Yeah, I don't care. You're a professional athlete. I don't care what's on your face. If you have a beard on you've got a fantastic beard. I don't want you to shave it.
I would totally shave it for a job though.
Yes, but there are jobs where it is required to, or it could be required to have a different appearance, right? If you're I don't know, big time fancy lawyer, I could understand maybe having to shave your beard or, trim it a little bit, right?
I definitely have. I have in my policy manual or work manual or whatever, I have an appearance, a cleanliness clause or whatever you want to call it, but it's not super strict.
Right.
But it does say this is what you need to live to this kind of standard, I guess. I don't know.
It's stupid though. Why is it necessary for a hockey player to not have facial hair? There's no need for it.
This is firing Carl up. I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem because this is my thinking. You don't like it, you don't have to play.
I get what you mean, but why put it in place to begin with? Sure, you can make up whatever crazy rule you want. You can make up a rule that you have to shave your hair into a mohawk. You want to play for the Leafs? Got a mohawk up. But that's idiotic. There's no need for it. In the same way that there's no need for you to not have facial hair. It doesn't make you a better hockey player. It doesn't make your team more cohesive. Ban turtlenecks for all I care. Get rid of turtlenecks. That's the bigger issue out here.
I did not expect you to be this fired up about this.
All right,
I
Joel,
love it.
Talk about your centerman. Talk about your fourth line center. Are you happy?
I don't have a problem with it. I think we traded. So it's basically a second round draft pick. The D guy, or I don't know how to say it, Renat Velavi. Quick game. Where's he from?
Czech Republic.
Ooh. I'll look that up. But he might break in as like a fourth D-man sometime, maybe. Russia. Russian. Yeah, you were close.
Europe. Like Eastern Europe.
Yeah.
Close enough for us.
Hey, it's closer than Canada. So Valiv, like, I don't know how you say that, but you could have convinced me that was like a Quebec name.
Yeah, that was actually would have been my second guess.
So like Russia or Czech Republic closer than Russia or Quebec.
True.
I don't know what I'm saying. Anyways, that guy might be good. I'm happy about this though. Fourth line center, probably like, I think, was it you that was saying like the Leafs have like a surprisingly deep center? Like,
I think, yeah, a lot of people were saying it because it's true.
Yeah, so like
they now have, when Austin Matthews returns from this debilitating shoulder injury, if Austin Matthews returns from the shoulder injury, they'll have Matthews, Kadri, Bozak, and Plekanec. A name that I still don't know how to say.
And Nylander as your backup.
Right. So now it's you're rolling Nylander and then those other three.
And Patrick Marleau if you're getting really desperate. Like, that's the thing that I love about it. It's like if we lose two centermen, we're still rolling out like Patrick Marleau as our next center. It's like, that's you, which I'm happy with that. But Reichel, whatever. He was like, he's not going to crack the Leafs lineup anytime soon. Second round pick is basically what it cost. I'm okay with it. They retained half his salary. I think they retained half his salary so they could try and make a run at McDonagh, right? Like, that was my guess.
Yeah, there was, the Leafs obviously wanted to add another D. McDonagh, potentially Mike Green. We'll get into why that didn't happen, but, yeah. So are you content? Like, cause he's gonna essentially play fourth line role, replacing Dominic Moore. Are you content? Like, to me, a second round pick for a fourth liner who will probably play on my penalty kill is a bit high.
Yes, but then when you start looking at what was being offered and traded around today, not high at all. Like, at all. When you see, like, look at the deals that we're going to get into. It was crazy town.
Yeah.
Like, Ryan Hartman getting traded for a first?
Spoilers.
Well,
no, but for sure. That is. Or,
like,
and the craziest, the Tatar trade. Ugh.
Yeah. So, like, maybe a bit high. Is it going to come back to them and, like, bite them bad, like, sometime? No. Like, I don't know, those two, like, the two guys. That's kind of what I look at it as the bigger thing, but is Reichel and Valiv. Those guys may become decent NHLers one day. Maybe you come back and you're like, oh man, totally missed on that, but I don't know. I'm okay with it. I'm not upset. I don't love it, but I'm not upset about it.
Yeah. All right, Joel. Last big trade, or I guess the last trade before the deadline day, Rick Nash heading off to Boston, for King's ransom.
Yeah, this is Mark Letestu who's sitting there. Hey,
we talked about him.
Did we?
Yeah, talked about the fact that it was a 3-way trade. Yeah,
I didn't realize that. That's that trade. The Preds, the Blue Jackets, and the Sharks.
The Oilers. Letestu was an Oiler.
Letestu was an Oiler.
He went to the Preds, and then the Preds sent him to Columbus.
Oh, yeah, I missed that.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why we skipped it. Now we've covered it. There you go, Mark Letestu. You're welcome. Rick Nash for a first, Ryan Spooner, half of Matt Bolesky's contract, Ryan Lindgren, and a 7th round draft pick. How much of this price that they paid for Rick Nash was Rick Nash, and how much of this was getting $1.9 million of Matt Bolesky's contract off the books for the next 2 years.
What's crazy is that they retain salary. So when I first saw this, I actually was surprised. I was actually surprised a little bit at how little they got for Rick Nash. Because I was like, man, like, why are they paying, like, taking on the full salary of Matt Bolesky? That doesn't seem smart. Like, and then to see that the Bruins actually retain salary, I believe the Rangers retain salary on Nash, but that's only 1 year, right?
Yeah, exactly. So they retained the $3.9 million cap hit, which works out to whatever it is for the rest of the year. And that was so that the Bruins could go out today and do absolutely nothing. That is what that was for.
How do you? So if they were to buy out Bolesky now,
yeah,
how does that work? Do they then like throw money on the Bruins books for the next like 6 years because of that as well?
I believe that is exactly what happens. Yeah,
they should totally do it. I would do it.
You would also trade for a guy, make him cut his dreads, and then cut him the next day. So
no, I don't have a problem with doing that. But
exactly. Yeah. Rick Nash I am very interested to see how he does in Boston. He played in the aforementioned game, against the Sabres and did moderately well, but he's a guy who has tailed off significantly at the end of his career. He is sitting at a whopping 24 points this season. And when you look at that, Rick Nash was not traded for his value. Rick Nash was traded for a name. Rick Nash,
his perceived value.
Right. He's got 18 goals, which is, solid. He could end up with, he's on base for about 25, which is good, but a 25 goal scorer should not net you Ryan Spooner, who's a competent NHLer, and a first round pick.
No, probably not. Is Ryan Spooner any good? I don't even know.
I would be happy to have Ryan Spooner on my team.
And a first round pick?
Yes.
And Ryan Lindgren?
Sure.
Yeah. I like what the Rangers did. Like, the Rangers were one of the best teams of the deadline, right?
I would say that the Rangers won the deadline.
Wow. So, like, just outright win.
Yeah, well, yeah, I would say that the Rangers did everything that they needed to do probably this deadline.
They did what the Habs, what the Wings, and what the Canucks should have done, but didn't.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, if you're Jim Benning, you're going to the Sedins and being saying, hey, can I send you somewhere to go win a cup? Can I do that?
Do you want to write your name on a trophy? Because we can go to the store and buy one, and you can write your name on that. Or there's this fancy one that they hand out, and they'll write it on there for you.
Yeah, exactly. Or like how in the world did the Wings not trade Mike Green? How did that happen?
Well, Mike Green is a fragile individual who's still hurt.
Yeah, but still, you're telling me that a team like the Capitals, who apparently he already approved a deal to, wouldn't have even given up a third-round draft pick for him?
Or anything? At the very least, the Wings don't have to pay him the rest of the year.
Yeah.
The Caps get a seventh. You could retain half of Mike Green's salary and get a seventh, and that's still an improvement. That's still better than nothing. Right,
but I'm sure they would give up more than that for him.
Exactly. But
so
at a minimum.
Happen?
Yeah.
Something happened.
Ken Holden got too distracted trading Tomas Tatar to get around to trading Mike Green.
Oh my goodness. He got too excited about that.
He was like, you're going to give me what?
He's like, oh my goodness. He's like, this is actually happening? Right. Oh my goodness.
All right, let's get into the trades of today. Skipping to some trades of note. Again, after all the pieces traded for third round picks, Patrick Maroon headed from Edmonton to New Jersey for a third round pick. So we now can see some of the value that's happening. There was both trades where there was some value to be found, some potential upside, but then trades like the aforementioned Ryan Hartman going from the Chicago Blackhawks to the Nashville Predators for a first, a fourth, and a prospect. What Nashville, who has made so many great moves year after year after year. There's the guy that they should be bringing over to the K, whose name is slipping my mind right now. He's going to be added to this team. Mike Fisher's added to this team. And then they still go and add Ryan. Not that Mike Fisher's really going to do anything, but Ryan Hartman for a first round pick. Really, to me, definitely a shocking trade today. What was going on here, Joel?
I don't know. I think you're asking me that because you don't know what's happening either.
I don't know what's happening either.
Like, is Ryan Hartman really worth a first round draft pick?
I'm gonna go ahead and give you a no on that. The only way that I look at this and I say Ryan Hartman is worth a first round. Sure, he was a former first rounder. He was picked 30th overall. He's performed moderately well. He's still young, right? Like, he's just finishing up his entry level deal. So there's a lot of controllable years for the Predators into the future where they can look at this and say, okay, we have this guy for the long term. So this is not at any way a rental. If it was a rental, that's crazy. But this is a long-term piece for them. And so from that angle, like, it's less crazy. But when you just look at the production, you look at, if you assume that Ryan Hartman is a rental, then you're like, oh, yeah, that's bad. But he's not.
But you got to think there's a better player out there that they could have packaged a first with whoever this other guy is and a fourth for someone. Like, you think there's a better player than Ryan Hartman that could do that, right?
You could. The only thing that I think is into next year, I think that's what they saw. They saw a guy that they could have at a good price tag into next season because they've got a lot of expensive pieces on this team. But
what about like K? Well, I guess I don't know. Considering what these prices look like, there was rumors that Max Domi was in a ton of talks. Like, what if they had gone out? Like, what would have it taken to get Max Domi? I guess probably more than what they gave up for Hartman. Well, definitely more if this is what.
Yeah, if Arizona knew what the talk was on this, they'd been like, yeah, let's talk Tatar value.
But like a first and a second for Max Domi, like, what? How many teams would probably sign up for that?
I don't know. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that was crazy.
No, I would have thought that, but like, I think, like, wouldn't that have been a better deal than getting Hartman?
Well, if you look at Nashville, they don't have a second round pick this year, so that would have been next year's second. So you're talking getting rid of a fair amount of picks, and so you've left yourself without. And so maybe that's why I could see them kind of balking at trading multiple pieces.
Forget it. Is this probably was on par with one of the most surprising moves of the day?
Yeah, let's get into the most surprising move of the day, at least to me. A move that I thought was not on the sheet. It is. Don't worry. It's right here. Paul Stastny. St. Louis Blues decided they're calling it. The season's done. Losers of 6 in a row. They have been on quite the slide the last while. And currently sitting a whopping 1 point out of the wild card. They are 1 point back of the Calgary Flames. Same amount of games left. They said, you know what? Let's trade one of our top centers. So he's off to Winnipeg.
Don't you like that, though? Because, like, even if they were a wild card team, what are the chances they're winning the Stanley Cup this year?
Yeah, for sure I like that. And it's a piece that is not a long-term loss, right? Like Paul Stastny, free agent after the year.
And they got a first-round pick. Like, they got... If the Rangers won the day, the trade deadline, Blues may have come in second. Because, like, a team that they understand where they are, and then they actually go out and get, like, decent value for a guy that I never... If you told me that Stastny was getting traded for a first-round pick at the beginning of today, I would have been like, no way, that's crazy talk. But
because the Blues are still in it, right? They're a team that you arguably... I I was more surprised to see them unload him than I would have if they had brought in someone.
Right. What about... So how do you like this from the Jets' perspective? Because now everyone's like, Jets have the best 9 forwards in the league.
Yeah, and I don't think that's true, but I like it. Obviously, like you add a guy who's going to be centering your second line. It's hard to be disappointed about that.
Yeah, I think it'll be okay. I don't know what to make of the Jets. I can't tell if they're actually going to be like legit contenders or not.
I'd say that's a fair concern. This is a team that hasn't been there before. It's, they've, done it all year, but you have goaltenders, Connor Hellebuck has come out of, there was a reason their own team didn't trust him enough to have him as their starter. They brought in Steve Mason.
All right. Well, where are we going next?
We've got 3 big deals left. Let's talk on, we'll save the big one for last. Tomas Tatar to Vegas Golden Knights for a first, a second, and a third. You commented today that, because Vegas in the end apparently was the closest to getting Erik Karlsson, and you commented that, Vegas must have just taken their Erik Karlsson offer and offered it to Detroit for Tatar.
This is crazy, right? Like, Tatar is not worth anywhere close to this.
So Tomas Tatar, 3 more years after this at $5.3 million.
Oh.
Detroit, obviously, their cap situation is a disaster. Being able to move out $5.3 million when you're in a rebuild, to be able to have any flexibility. Tatar, we're talking to, you're looking at Grabner as a 2-time 30 goal scorer. Tomas Tatar, a 0-time 30 goal scorer. He netted a first and a third more than Michael Grabner did, and costs you $4 million more a season.
But I guess the argument is that you do get 2 more years of him, or 3 more years. What did you say?
3 more years. But Vegas stockpiled a ton of draft picks, right? So this is what they traded from an area of strength, and you always want your teams to do that. As Vegas, I understand their reasoning for doing this trade. I understand their reasoning. We can pick up a guy because this team has nothing into the future, right? There's so many expiring contracts on this team. They're able to pick up something for now, for the future. Trade from area of strength. I get it, but it's an overpay.
By a lot. So, and I don't like, the thing that's like clearly an overpay is I'm not convinced this makes them really that much better of a team. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not like, oh yeah, they're way more of a contender now.
Yeah. I don't look at this and I'm like, well, obviously the piece that they were missing from winning the Stanley Cup is Tomas Tatar.
Yeah. It's just so confusing. This is the most confusing deal of the day, right? Like,
I think so. Yeah. For sure.
And it's not close.
But so this is when, so we talked about some of the pieces being moved and how Brassard netted a big value, and he has extra years left. Tatar netted this trade with extra years left. We saw what Matt Duchene got earlier this year. He has extra years left. So you look at that and then you realize why Max Pacioretty is still in Montreal, right? You realize why some of these guys that have years left didn't go, because the price tag on them was pretty high.
Right. What about, do you know who Philip Holm is?
Nope.
Wasn't Brendan Lespick having, a great season for the Knights?
Pretty good. Yeah.
Considering what everyone kind of thought he was, and then they went and trade. That was the thing. That was another thing. I don't like what Vegas did at all today. At all. Nothing they did made sense.
Yeah, there was a lot. I was a big Leipzig guy. It was a very confusing, and again, Vegas still doesn't need more defensemen. That is not a thing in need. Yeah. All right. Evander Kane is a guy that we all knew would move. They waited till the very end. And this was part of the problem as well, is all these trades didn't start to go through until the very last hour till the deadline. And then a whole backlog of them came rolling through. Evander Kane to San Jose for a first, which becomes a second if they don't re-sign him, and a fourth and quote prospect. This is something that, San Jose has a prospect wise, they have nothing, right? There's not a lot. The cupboards are pretty bare in San Jose. But in being able to say, in the end, if this doesn't work and they don't re-sign him, it's only a second round pick. Love this pickup for San Jose.
Yeah, I think it's fine. It's kind of like, the biggest thing is you have no idea what Evander Kane you're getting. That's the biggest problem.
Right. And even this year, right? Is it the Evander Kane that started the year and was on fire? Or is it the Evander Kane of the last 2 months?
So I take it way back on Brendan Weisbeck. He had a great start to the season, not been good at all since then.
So he went full Evander Kane.
Yeah. So how many points do you think he would have had?
15.
Based off of, sorry?
15.
Okay, so he has 13 points. I'm pretty sure 10 of those came in his first 10 games.
Yeah.
He's been awful. I take everything back I've said nice about him.
Everything. So are you less sad about that deal for Vegas then?
I still don't think it was I don't know. I still think he's probably a better player than what they traded. He showed that he could be good. Anyways, I like it. The Sharks made a good deal, especially if they don't have to give up a first round pick for him.
Yeah, for sure.
Good little deal.
All right. Last trade of the day, the big one, Ryan McDonagh, JT Miller, Ryan McDonagh and JT Miller to the Tampa Bay Lightning for a first, a second, Vladislav Namestnikov, Brent Howden, and Libor Hajek. Where do you think Libor is from?
Oh, I'm going to go Sweden.
He actually is Czech this time.
Oh,
yeah. So a big piece moving from, obviously the Rangers moving on from their captain, another guy with term left on his contract, traded for an actual roster piece from Tampa. What are your initial thoughts on this? Big ticket here, but was it worth it?
I do not think so. I don't know. It doesn't hurt the Lightning, I guess. I don't think it hurts the Lightning. McDonagh's a good defenseman, but I don't think he's that great. I don't know. Do you think he's saved by the Rangers? I don't know. I might be way off. I feel like they're one of those teams that have kind of been a really good system type team. They play really well together. They make each other look really good.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I'm the same boat as that.
So, and I wouldn't be surprised if he goes to another team like Tampa and just doesn't look nearly as good as people think he is.
Yeah, but so what I like about this trade for Tampa is, they get him in. He has another year left. He's a good, he's going to fill in on that second pairing. They gave up at the highest peak of Vladislav Namestnikov. You put him with Kucherov and Stamkos, make him look great for the season, then trade. That's what you should be doing, right? Who knows what he actually is? He could be a very good player, but we will find out when Joel turns his phone off and stops vibrating. Important. Do you want to take that call?
No, it's just my mother.
Oh, say hi to your mom for us. So that's where that is for me. I don't really like it from the Tampa perspective. As much as they wanted to pick up a defenseman, their defense is a lot of very highly paid, very mediocre players.
Yeah, do you think, do you what do you think of Namestnikov? How do you say that guy's name? Is that right?
Sure, I think that's right.
Do you think, I don't know, I thought he was, he seems like he's a good player. I just don't know why you would mess with, I would have tried to add Mike Green without touching your roster. That would have made more sense for me as the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Yeah, I would have been more in favor of that as well. I get JT Miller, I think is better. Well, I'd rather JT Miller over Nemestikov. So you bring him in. You have upgraded that roster spot that you had to take away. You've upgraded that. You've upgraded at defense. So sure, they upgraded 2 positions this deadline, which is a win, right? You want that. But at the same time, it still leaves them in a bit of a messy situation into next year. This year, sure, it's great. You win a Stanley Cup. No one cares. No one's going to be complaining about next year. But it still leaves them in a bit of a pickle contract-wise for next year.
So I want to save, I think that's pretty much it. I want to save this question. We're going to talk about this on the show, the next show that's going to be out on Wednesday, is after this is all said and done, who do we think wins the Stanley Cup? Not who's favored to, who do we think does?
Yeah. Because for sure, Tampa is currently the favorite.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Any other thoughts? Any thoughts on guys who didn't go that you kind of thought you're surprised at? And I know we've talked about Green and the Sedins and all of those guys. Anything that stood out to you?
Well, I'm not super surprised the Sedins didn't go. I'm not surprised at all they didn't go. They should have gone. I don't think so. I'm not surprised Carlson didn't go. I'm surprised Mike Green didn't. I'm a little surprised Montreal didn't do more. I don't know. What am I missing?
Yeah, I'm with you. All those guys, I'm not super surprised. I didn't think Carlson would go really. I expected that there was a lot of teams that did a whole lot of nothing this deadline, and that was really like the Stars in a playoff spot didn't really touch anything. So they're in the boats where, they're fine with where they're at. From myself, I was a little surprised that the Avalanche didn't try to part ways with some of these guys who are RFAs, UFAs for peanuts. But again, I think a lot of teams were waiting on some of these pieces to fall into place, and it just didn't happen. So, who is your winner of the deadline?
I think the Rangers. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, Rangers. Losers. I would probably say the Boston Bruins, for me, are. What they gave up, like Nick Holden, Rick Nash, meh. That was really, to me, Boston Bruins lost the deadline.
Them or Vegas. Just because Vegas has all the picks in the world doesn't mean they have to do bad things with them.
That's fair. Yeah, well.
Carl, we've talked a lot about trades. But you know what?
What?
We should also talk about how we like to trade listens with other shows at the Alberta Podcast Network.
Yeah, lots of great shows over there. If you are looking for a new podcast, head over to albertapodcastnetwork.com and you will find the big old list of all the shows on the network. We're sitting at right around 30 shows on the network these days.
There we go. Good stuff.
Lots of good stuff going on over there. If you're a fan of soccer, you should check out, there's multiple soccer shows over there. The newest addition to the show, or to the network, the Young Gaffers. They call themselves an irreverent look at the beautiful game. Which I would say we could steal that irreverent tagline for our show probably.
Yeah, but is hockey ever considered a beautiful thing?
I think a lot of people would describe it as that. Is that what you call, is soccer the beautiful game?
I have no idea.
Well, Joel, you can head over to the Young Gaffers, GAFFERS.com, where Jason and Adam will talk about soccer. They cover MLS, Premier League, anything soccer. They are covering over there. So head on over there for more on our show. What are we going to do? Wait, do we want to pick the high sticking games now or on Wednesday? Do we want to pick like the Tuesday, Wednesday games and we'll pick the rest?
Yeah, let's do the Tuesday, Wednesday games.
All right, Tuesday, we're going to go with Nashville, Winnipeg.
Wednesday, we're going to go with you. There's all the bad games.
Yeah, don't pick Colorado Calgary. That only brings you sadness.
Okay, shout out to Matt. You get an Islanders game.
There you go. New York Islanders, Montreal Canadiens. There we go. You can head over to our Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast. Pick your game-winning goal scorers for those of you on Play High Sticking. We'll be back on Wednesday with another episode. TheFourthLinePodcast.com, Facebook, Pinterest, we're everywhere.
Boom City.